Morning, class. My name is Mr. Sutherland, and as you know, we've been talking about some different things in mathematics, and today I'm going to talk about some of the key foundations that you need in mathematics to move forward in mathematics. We're going to do a little bit of addition, we're going to do a little bit of subtraction, a little bit of multiplication, and then also a little bit of division. And the reason we'll do those is because you need one step to do the other step, to do the other step, and to do the other step. And we'll do these in line, starting with addition, and then subtraction, and so forth. And I'll show you these in ways that make kind of sense. And so we'll begin with addition, and addition is pretty simple and is really the basis for all things we'll do going forward. So addition, think about adding things. How do we add things? Well, let's talk about a very simple way to add things. You are one person. If you add a friend or a relative, you are then two people. So the concept then is 1 plus 1 equals 2. And very simply put, if you show one finger and you add another finger and count those two fingers together, you now have 2 fingers. So that's kind of how addition works. And you think about this, like me and Johnny or Jill and Jenny went to the store. That means that there were 2 people who went to the store. Okay, so with that in mind, let's think about subtraction. And subtraction is a little bit different only in as much as instead of adding one thing to another, you are subtracting one thing from another. So let's say that you have one thing and your friend has one thing. So you have 2 things, like our example. Now what if your friend gives you his thing? Now he has no things. So, simply put, if you have one thing minus one thing, it equals nothing, or 0. So, I have one apple. I gave my apple away. I now have no apples. Okay? And so that's basically how subtraction works. And again, if we took a more basic look at it and said, I have one thing, I have one other thing, I take away that one thing, I am left with no thing. Okay? Now, in multiplication, multiplication is a different process. And it uses addition to compound, and that's kind of a big word, but to continue to add upon what you're already adding. Let's think about this. If I say that I have 5 things and I'm going to give them to 20 people, now I could add 5 20 different times and I would come up with my answer. Or I could multiply 5 20 times and come up with my answer. And we'll use that on a much more basic scale. Think about this. If I have 2 things and I want to give it to 4 people, I could say 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. So then I would have 8 things. Or I could say 2 times 2 equals 4, times 2 more equals 8. Or, better put, 2 plus 2 equals 4, plus 2 more equals 6, plus 2 more equals 8. But if we say 2 times 4, that also equals 8. And that's basic, and that's basically how multiplication works. Multiplication is just adding on a much bigger scale, or adding and adding and adding. A way to save yourself time. Now, we'll move on to our last step in the process. And again, these are very short vignettes into how these processes work. but we'll get into more detail in the classroom. Now, division is kind of like subtraction, except it uses a different process. So think about this. Let's use our 2 times 4 equals 8. Well, what we want to know in division is how many times does 2 go in to 8? So how many 2's make up 8? Well, we already know that our answer is 4, because we looked here that 2 plus 2 equals 4, and 4 plus 2 equals 6, and 6 plus 2 equals 8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 2's that make up our 8. And we can write that or express that like this. So 8 divided by 2 equals 4. Okay? So we know that we have 4 2's in 8. And that's different from subtraction, because if we simply subtracted 2 from 8, we would end up with 6, as we already knew from our addition problem. And again, division is simply a way for us to figure out how many of something is in something else, or how many of something makes up something else. And those are just some brief lessons on how to do the very basic parts of mathematics. Look further on to the website for some more details on how to do those things, and we will most certainly go into more detail as class goes on. Have a great day.